I'm not ready. You follow me and everything. Um, well, first of all, welcome back, everybody. This is our first board meeting in about 6 weeks. So I'm looking forward to a really good start of the school year. I hope everyone had a great summer, rested and refreshed. Welcome to our new staff members in the district. I know we have a decent number of new staff members that we're welcoming, both subs, teachers, everybody. So welcome and welcome back from summer.
I just want to also welcome everyone back and commend all of us for our commitment to the students in our community here. And then acknowledge that I actually just rushed back from an event that DJ Canepa was throwing for his birthday. So just acknowledging Supervisor Canepa's birthday as well.
Similarly, just wanted to welcome everybody back. Hope you had a wonderful summer. Very excited about the new school year. Looking forward to working with our new superintendent, all the new staff members, and making this a fantastic year for the JESD. Thank you.
I share the sentiments of my fellow trustees. I'm excited seeing a lot of our students and families in the grocery stores prepping for the new school year or shopping for clothes, and just the level of excitement to get back into our schools definitely is inspiring. I had a great summer, saw some of you in passing, saw some of your adventures on social media, even some of our teachers. I was with 160 kids over the weekend, and I heard Daly City in the house, and I turned around, and it was wonderful to see some of our educators and their families enjoying some of the last few days of the summer. So I hope that you all are rested and up for a new year. We're just very, very grateful, extremely grateful. Totally understand that this job requires that we're all in, all hands on deck. And I hope that you all know that we are just as invested as all of you, but deeply, deeply gratitude to be a product of public education, to know that my kids, my families that I'm connected to are so very grateful for all of the work that you all do. So many blessings to you, to a new school year.
I also echo my fellow board trustee sentiments. I hope everyone had a great summer. I know I did. Today is National Book Lovers Day, and so I hope that all our students were reading throughout the summer and doing the Summer Learning Challenge and hopefully getting some free books from our libraries. The other thing I wanted to mention is we know COVID is still very real and out in our communities, and so for everyone coming back next week, I know that our district provided some kits for you to take, so please make sure to take those before you return to school. We want to stop the spread and keep our kids in school. And so with that, I will be moving to superintendent comments.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for reminding everyone to take those those tests. It's a very busy time of year. We're gearing up for the start of school, which is next Wednesday, August 16th. We're very excited to have all of our students coming back and greeting our new students. We also want to remind families to check your school website because there are some orientations and some early back to school nights happening at certain sites. So check the websites for that. And then we've been having a lot of trainings this week. We also had our new teacher orientation, so a lot of excited, happy faces there. And our office staff returned, all our principals returned, our teachers returned. If they're not new, they return on Friday. So we have our Institute Day that Ms. Scott has been organizing with her team. And that will be held at Fernando Rivera and Thomas Edison and here at the district office. So we're looking forward to seeing everyone. I'll be giving a welcome back morning presentation or speech. And a couple more things just to let everyone know about is this last weekend, Vibes and Smiles was this event that happened in the community, and they donated to Woodrow Wilson and George Washington a lot of school supplies. And with that connection, we learned about another donation drive that happened, and they gave those donations to us as well. So our new community school coordinator, Luisa Santos, has been really kind of reaching out and getting connected with the community. So we got double what we were anticipating or expecting from the Vibes and Smiles event. So it's really exciting. We're collecting that and getting it out to the families who need it. So I'm looking forward to seeing everyone back at school. And remember, school starts next Wednesday.
Thank you. We will be moving on to general functions. Consent agenda. The administration recommends approval of the start items on the rest of the agenda.
There is one correction that I put a note, so it's on the consent agenda. It's item 9D. The date for Sarah Yam should have been October 5th, not October 4th. So if that is approved on the agenda, we want to make sure that's corrected.
Perfect. Are there any other adjustments? If not, I will take a motion with the correction on item 9D for Sarah Yam to the leave beginning 10/5 and not 10/4.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Perfect. That was unanimous. We will now be moving to item 6C. The board will discuss selecting a governance workshop meeting date on either Saturday, January 13th, 24, January 20th, 24, February 3rd, 24, or February 10th, 24, with CSBA consultant Deborah Sims, and the need for any other study sessions. The only thing I was going to mention is obviously normally we do this with, I believe, Luann, but I believe she's retiring or moving on.
No, she's moving on in the organization.
Perfect. She's moving on in the organization. So it's our regular governance workshop, but just with the new consultant.
And if I may add, typically it's been the January 20th weekend. That's what's been happening in the past, just so that you know on your calendars, but you can choose any of those dates. Those are when Deborah Sims is available.
Do any other trustees have concerns with specific schedule conflicts for any of these dates?
I'd like to just say that my preference would be the February 10th date, but I'm so flexible. That is just my preference, but I'm open to what the majority is, the consensus is today.
Does anyone else have any dates that are preferred or that don't work at all?
I'd like to acknowledge that the 10th is Lunar New Year, so that I'm not sure if any of us have that. I just wanted to make that acknowledgement.
Thank you.
So then do we need a motion for which day, or is
We
that-
need
yeah.
we need to select a day. So I guess
then-
it's still open to everyone if there's any other dates that don't work. I know people are looking at calendars right now, so no rush.
I mean, I'd move the 20th, or was that, yeah, that work?
So we have on the table February 10th being a preferred date. However, again,
Oh, sorry
open
for-
to
yeah.
the rest of the board. If the 10th doesn't work, then we can choose another date as
Let's
well.
do the 10th then. I'm okay with the 10th.
Trustee Ali, are you?
It is, but do any of us celebrate that? We don't have to have it on that date. That's true.
Okay, so I'm hearing that we are fine with the February 10th date. If so, I would like to make a motion, or I would like to ask for a motion for us to have the workshop on February 10th of 2024. Is there a motion?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That was unanimous. And so really quickly, Superintendent McCulloch, so you will schedule this with Ms. Sims, and then we'll just get that calendared and on our agenda for the rest of the year, correct? Okay, perfect. Moving on to item 6D, Jefferson Elementary School District Measure T parcel tax will sunset on June 30th of 26. In 2016, voters approved Measure T parcel tax to protect core intervention programs, math, literacy, enhanced music and art programming during or after school, and support the library program, technology, books, furniture. Revenue from this parcel tax has funded our school libraries, ethnic studies curriculum and training, art and music instruction, classroom interventions, and our youth cinema project at 4 elementary schools. So the administration seeks a direction on whether the district should pursue the feasibility of a ballot measure at the upcoming election in March of 24 or November of 24 in order to continue supporting those programs and services funded through Measure T parcel tax, which again sunsets in June of 26. So the direction is, do we want to move forward with March or November of 24 to have this on the ballot, or do we even want to put this on the ballot?
And yeah,
We will need to, down the line, do a resolution by November if we want the March 2024. But
Okay.
we just want to know, is there interest in the board for us to pursue this, to see if we should put a resolution and
Okay.
And I guess how much revenue would that generate for the district?
1.2 million annually.
And then I guess just to make sure so that we're clear, if we decided not to, what would the impact be? So that way everyone is aware.
So we would either have to stop funding certain programs, the ones mentioned there, or we would have to find other revenue sources for that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Do we currently have any other revenue sources that we could? These are just questions, of course. I'm not saying we're not going.
We're in declining enrollment, as we know, and our average daily attendance is based on, right now, a 3-year average of when our attendance was better. And so we're actually going to start seeing decrease in our funding. So we're already going to have to see about cuts, possibly. So we need to think about, and then if this goes away too, that's additional. So there's a lot of, if we increase our average daily attendance, we can increase funding, but that's also depending on families getting their students to school, et cetera.
Thank you.
Additionally, I'd like to add that, as you're aware, the voters in California passed Prop 28, which was arts and music funding in the state of California, which is 1% of Prop 98. However, there are stipulations with that funding. We can only spend that funding on personnel. So 80% of those funds need to be on teachers and not on contracted services like Latino Film Institute. So there's a lot of red tape that comes along with quote unquote additional funding streams for even things like arts and music. In a time where it's still very difficult to find teachers that are specializing in those fields. Yeah. Credentialed in those fields. So there are some other sources of revenue, but there are restrictions on how we can spend that, right?
And also to be clear, even if we did put this on the ballot, there's no guarantee that it would pass, right? And so I guess the outside of that, and if we moved forward with either of the dates to move this forward for putting a resolution out, I guess I would like to understand what we are doing as a district to promote, to ensure that we get voters to hopefully know why we're doing this. I think because that's going to be imperative to obviously, we obviously have the need for the funding, but if we don't get the word out of the importance of the reason why we need this funding, then obviously it's for naught.
Yeah, and that's what actually we pay Volaire to do.
Perfect.
So Volaire, they're coming at the next board meeting, and so they'll be able to help us with that.
So I had a couple of questions and a couple of comments. So I'll start with my comments. I would like us to just think about when I look at this and I see library programs included in this list, I don't feel comfortable. I feel like we should be figuring out how to support librarians in our schools and library programs as a regular part of the district, not that's dependent on one-time funding or whatever we're going to talk about today. That's my first comment. My second comment is when I see classroom interventions, it makes me think, and I saw this before. I didn't have this question, so I'm not trying to do a gotcha moment, but classroom interventions, I need to know what are the classroom interventions that are dependent on a parcel tax?
Well, if we're funding additional MTSS positions, that are above and beyond the baseline services of teachers that we need for our enrollment, that's above and beyond, providing those direct services to students. So that's one thing that ongoing as we decline in revenue, that's one thing that we could ensure that ongoing, even with the Learning Recovery Block Grant, that those additional support direct services to students continue. When we talk about library, recently, this past fiscal year, we've allocated a lot of money, over $130,000 to all of our, in total, to across the district, in order to bolster the libraries and, increase and include a wide range and diversity of books in our libraries, to try to foster greater participation, as well as try to encourage our students to be reading more. So yeah, I think it would be, there's things that we do that are baseline, but there are additional things that go above and beyond the baseline of services that are in the partial tax.
And just to clarify, MTSS stands for multi-tiered system of support, which is a system, but part of that is having intervention teachers that support that higher level need students that are not in special education, that are in the general ed classroom.
Can I follow up on something that Trustee Ali? So our libraries are funded solely through this?
They're funded in a combination of our base funding, our
Okay.
supplemental concentration funding, and additionally through partial tax.
And okay, so it's an addition to.
So-
So the reason why I asked that question is because I know you said was it $130,000 that you said, but it did come to my attention that this year our librarians were unable to attend their regular conference. I guess I would like to understand why that is. If we're doing additional funding for this, but we're cutting certain things that may have been done in the past. Why is that? I agree that our libraries are, I just spoke about National Book Lovers Day. I'm an avid reader. And so I'm a little concerned that it seems like an afterthought, or it seems like it's what's the word? It's something in addition to instead of our core. And that's a little concerning to me.
So regarding the library, that wasn't to do with necessarily the funding of it.
Okay.
It had to do with the purpose of what the workshop was and how it was going to be brought back. Okay. So that was a different situation than funding. Regarding the core programs, the parcel tax, we're looking to renew it. And so we don't have to do the same exact programs that we were offering before, but we can do the same core because the language is broad. So part of it was, the interventions offering, the core program, math and literacy. That could be that how we're going to fund our multi-tiered system of support intervention teachers that are not funded by parcel tax now, but could be because it fits under the language. So because if you have concerns about what we're funding now, we don't have to fund those now. We can fund something else that we really need more. And so the question really on the table is, do we want to pursue this additional funding to fund what we feel is necessary in the district? It may or may not be what is currently being funded. It could be more, could be something different. So we just want to know, do you want us to pursue that? So I don't want to get caught up in what we're funding now, because if the board is saying, let's not continue that route and put it in the general fund, great, but we still are going to be short in the next few years. And so we want to be proactive with this.
I just wanted to make a comment. President Jordan, I recall a meeting, I'm sure Trustee Ali will remember this too, where we were given the task to figure out what to cut and would total $1 million. And that meeting resonates deeply with me. And so I appreciate the opportunity to be proactive, and I appreciate the clarification. I will throw my hat in and say I would like to say that if this gives us an opportunity to continue what we do well and to ensure that the language is broad, that we can not just do what is listed here, but broaden the reach to be more innovative as a district. I just want to throw my hat in and say, let's do it. I would think, I'm not a strategist with all things political, but I would think we'd probably be fair whether, we do better in November, being it's a presidential election, so versus March as far as turnout. So that's my comment. And so if that's a motion.
May I
don't
interrupt? The reason I was saying March, because the high school district is going in November for a parcel tax. So do we want to go at the same time? I don't know. I was thinking
Could it be confusing that because it's both Jefferson, and so even though it's Jefferson Union versus Jefferson Elementary, could someone probably look at the ballot and think,
why are they going for two parcel taxes?
Yeah, exactly. So, okay.
Or it'd make them read it twice.
Okay, so may I go? Yes, that does happen, and it's a complaint that people have. So I just wanted to finish my comments. So thanks for clarifying, and I agree 100% with everything that Trustee Leano Ai said. But my other comment was too that I'm in favor of us at least doing the feasibility study and getting more input from our community about what they think. And then also that March date, I think would be preferable because yes, it is confusing. And then, but at the same time, people always also say, we just voted, we just gave you one, you know, so if they give it to the high school district in November and they see us in March, they might think that they're trying to double dip.
Well,
So it's
we would be
weird.
before the
We would be
high school
first.
district, though, it seems like. So if they, well, which means we may put our sister district in jeopardy. Are there any other comments?
They are aware that we are considering March.
Okay.
So I just had a question about the decision making of what priorities are funded through parcel taxes, because I also, kind of looked at the ballot measure for the original parcel tax T, and just noted leading with core academics, yet we have funded other priorities, likely because of those priorities were not funded elsewhere. So I guess my main question is, will the board be given an opportunity to weigh in on, what is ultimately funded through this parcel tax?
Yes.
Which, and I think that question is aligned with probably what Trustee Ali mentioned, which is I think we get the input of the community through the feasibility study, and then from there we can add additional. Is that accurate?
Well, it would be mainly the language, which is broad. So I think what you're asking is more specifics, right, of what would be funded. So we could do a presentation about what we're proposing and then have that discussed and approved.
Does it need to be approved by the board, or is this an administrative priority of what ultimately is funded through these funds?
It doesn't need to be approved by the board with the specific funding, but we can bring it to you for your input and go from there.
So I think really quickly, I think it sounds like as a board, we do want it brought to us, and we do, and I'm speaking for the board, but we do probably want the feasibility study as well. We just want to be as thorough as possible to ensure that the funding is spent appropriately, especially if we're putting in all of this effort to put it on the ballot, and obviously what we're paying our PR team to also, put all of that out there. So go ahead.
No, I appreciate the lift. I think it's important that there's alignment. Communication is key. If we're talking about this, we are going to be the trusted messengers who are out there talking about what's to be funded, and I think that we need to understand what it is we're pursuing. So I appreciate the opportunity for us to hear from the superintendent and administrators about what we will be looking at, because I find it helpful. Despite the fact I've sat here for a little bit, we were just sharing the conversation, how it's always good to be refreshed and learn what we're doing, because I want to be able to hold myself accountable when someone's speaking to me and asking me questions about the district. I want to be able to communicate that and give factual information, because we all know how emotional I can get. So I don't want to give emotional. I want to give facts.
So with that, do I have a motion to basically have this put on the March
No,
ballot?
let's not do
Oh,
that.
sorry.
One.
What is-
A motion to allow the district to pursue a feasibility study.
There we go. Okay. Do I have a motion for the district to pursue a feasibility study of the ballot measure for an upcoming election? And do we need to choose a date now, March or November? Or we just
No.
Okay.
So what will happen is you're approving the feasibility study.
Okay.
And then once we get a feasibility study, and let's say we're to move, we will bring another separate resolution that'll outline what's an allowable expense, the allowable expenses, and then you'll approve that resolution. Then we'll bring it to the county clerk and then get on the whatever election we want, a cycle we want to, March or November. But right now, you're just approving us to move forward with the feasibility study.
Perfect.
That's it.
Go ahead.
Can choosing between those two dates be a part of the study as well?
That'll be part of the study.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I will entertain a motion to give the district direction on pursuing the feasibility study.
So moved.
There's a first. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That was unanimous. Moving on to item 6E, use of district facilities. The board will provide direction to administration and the board subcommittee for the City of Daly City, towns of Broadmoor and Colma, and other local partnerships on the use of facilities and green spaces. I do have, well, I guess it's interesting. So this conversation is coming before the board items for the fencing, I'm assuming. Yes, it is. So, okay. As a board, we would like to discuss our subcommittee. I think me and you are on that subcommittee. And so we would like to, obviously, district facilities, green spaces. Right now, there's been a lot of, I don't know about the rest of the board, but I've had a couple parents and community members come up to me and ask, why they can't use our playgrounds, when our schools are, closed. And specifically during the pandemic, when parks were also closed. And so we want to provide some direction on trying to get a meeting on the calendar with the City of Daly City to discuss. Are there any other comments on that?
Yes, really quickly. I've been approached about this several times and even almost got into arguments with people about it. So it's very confusing. We need everyone to be a part of the conversation because we have 3 different school districts in our city, and then we have the city itself. And all of our jurisdictions control our own facilities and land. So people get confused. They just want to go play somewhere. And there are some issues. I don't want to get into the details of it now, but that's why we need that conversation with you two that are on the committee to talk with the city and also the other school districts about this. And this is something that I brought up a couple years ago, and it's not going to get easier. We need to get on top of this. Thank you.
To make a comment, I have shared conversations in the past about this. We've lost a lot of local organizations. I know Daly City Stars used to be at a TRP. They are now at Jefferson High School, but I know numerous organizations. I remember Ben Franklin had groups practicing basketball when they could get time and get in there. And I just find it to be a travesty. I want to just be very open and very frank that while we are public schools, our spaces are unfortunately not public, not open to the public for a variety of reasons. So that's why I press on the committee and also to own this is an I comment. We have tried in the past to have this meeting with the city. And to be really honest, we've been unsuccessful. So I just want to say that. And I have been pressing on council members as well that this is an important meeting. We have parents who've reached out to us near TRP who have soccer practice in the street on Sylvan. And that's what's really happening. This is a safety issue, and these are our families who have no access to our schools, to our public parks and public spaces. So I love that our district, our board is leading this conversation, and I know that you guys will communicate these concerns well. It has just been disheartening for me to see that we have not had movement and a level of accountability from the city, and I hope that that changes, because I hope it doesn't require for one of our students or one of our youth to be hurt on the street because they don't have access. And we who have the opportunity to make the right decisions are not doing that. So thank you for making sure that that conversation happens and representing the voices of our community.
I have a question. How long have we been having this discussion that has not been resolved? Oh, interesting.
I would say at least 3 to 4 years, because it happened at around the time that we were pressured into putting the fences on the schools. And so we were having this discussion right at that time that people were using fear and saying that, I'm going to just say it. So we even had a council member who came and said the mass shootings that were happening, that we were opening ourselves up to that and we needed to fence our schools, which has nothing to do with after school time, by the way. So at the time when we voted to get fencing, we had no idea exactly how those fences would look and the gating and all of that. So by the time the fences were put up in the schools and people couldn't get in anymore, we were caught in the middle of the conversation. So that's why I kept bringing it back to us at the time to say this is not, it doesn't just concern us as our district, but all the districts and the city, because people are trying to break into our schools because they don't have a park to go to or enough basketball courts that the city needs to create. And then, you know, they charge people to go probably still to Westlake Gym and play basketball, or to War Memorial. You know, a little teenager has to pay money just to go play basketball. That makes no sense. So that's partly why we're dealing with this as well.
Thank you. So I know we have a fencing item on our agenda, and so I don't want to confuse the two, even though they are a little bit intertwined, right? And so it may be helpful when we get to that item that we discuss why this discussion is a little different, possibly, from the fencing item that's on the agenda.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah, that's fine. And just to add, even though we're public schools, we're not public spaces. Our school property is funded by, you know, state funds, but it's for the purpose of educating students. So we get public funding, but they're not public spaces. You'll notice that we do have signs on our, you know, gates and things that say no trespassing that have been there for years. That's a liability. The high school district had a family sue them because someone jumped over into the pool and hurt themselves, but because they didn't have signs that said you can't go on campus, the school district was sued. So thinking about liability, thinking about public, it's not a public space. We need to protect our students and it also is, a lot of times we have graffiti, we have trash that we have to use our staff that is supposed to be doing other work for our students to clean up those things. So that's why it's something we wanted to bring up when we have conversations with the city, because there's not a lot of city spaces for public spaces for the community to go to. And so that's why they rely on our schools. But we're not intended to be a public space. So we have to think about that and keep that in mind. So the fencing does help us protect us for our liabilities, keeps our students and staff safe with the fencing, because right now, obviously, our fencing is not in certain schools. Right now, our fencing is not protecting our students. So that's why those items are also on the agenda. But this item is really about public use of our facilities and giving direction to our board members that are in the subcommittee when they do, just to have considerations for when they do meet with the city. Because I know that there was conversation with the city before the pandemic about this and an MOU, but the pandemic, it kind of went away. So we'd like to kind of bring this back to the forefront. So we wanted to talk about it, especially when the fencing conversation came up, that this is a separate issue, but it is related. So we wanted to give you an opportunity as a board, and if anyone in the public has anything to say about the public use of facilities, to share their comments so that you have direction, as I think Trustee Rashbaugh and President Jordan are the representatives for the subcommittee, right?
Yes. I appreciate you speaking that through. And selfishly, an I statement here, we already, tight with money, so we don't want to be sued and spend our money on paying someone out from a liability versus using that money for our students. So I think as a board, I think we're all in agreement that we do want to move forward with this conversation. If there is any issues with scheduling this meeting, I am willing to go to City Hall and speak at their board meeting to ensure that this happens. So I guess, can you just keep us updated? We don't want to elongate this. I realized earlier today that we have 4 months until the end of the year. So we don't have a lot of time. No pressure. Are there any other comments or questions or any other issues that we want to bring up? This, again, is just a discussion item. So if not, I will move on to item 7C. Contracted services for One Life Counseling for JESD. The administration recommends the acceptance of a contract in the amount of $55,440 with One Life Counseling to provide counseling and support to the Jefferson Elementary School District for the school year of 2023-24. On-site counselor for 24 hours per week for 35 weeks between August of 2023 and June 2024. Hours include weekly supervision, meetings, and training. Are there any comments or questions? If not, yes, perfect.
And this is also in conjunction with our own school counselors that we currently have in the district as well.
These are in addition, so these are for higher needs.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the contract for One Life Counseling.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. Moving on to item 7D, the administration recommends acceptance of a contract in the amount of $33,660 with One Life Counseling to provide individual and group counseling sessions with students during school hours and according to the JSD calendar at Fernando Rivera School. Contractor will provide 15 hours of service per week for 34 weeks, not including lunch, Monday through Friday, on site at Fernando Rivera School. Basically, if you did notice, the next couple of items on the agenda are with One Life Counseling at different schools. So it's pretty much the same, I'm assuming, in terms of the in addition to. Is that correct, Superintendent?
Yes, and I realize I misspoke on the last one. It's the one for the district is to fund counselors that we couldn't fill positions for yet. So it's,
You read my
these
mind.
two are the higher needs. Sorry, I
You read
misspoke.
my mind. I was about to actually say, I was like, wait a second. Yeah, no, thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. Are there any other questions? And if not, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous. Moving to item 7E, the administration recommends acceptance of a contract in the amount of $6,930 with One Life Counseling to provide mental health services for students and families at Franklin D. Roosevelt School. Services will be provided by the One Life Marriage and Family Therapist interns and will include individual and group therapy and connections to community resources for 3 hours per week. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That was unanimous. Moving on to, this is a fun one, approval of the field trip to Yosemite National Park on November 5th, 2023 through November 8th of 2023. 25 students from FDR with 3 adult chaperones from the school. Students will travel to Yosemite on a charter bus and will stay in cabins in Curry Village. The students will be participating in the Nature Bridge and Science program and having the opportunity to engage in inclusive hands-on learning experiences in one of the world's most iconic national parks. Are there any comments from fellow trustees?
I had a quick question. Didn't they? Oh, sorry. Did you? Oh, sorry. Didn't they present at our meeting last year?
They
Yeah,
did.
yeah. I remember that. That's all. I just want to make sure I was remembering that correctly.
My question was they didn't want to go in the middle of winter again?
That was, they did say that it was quite cold. Some of them had never seen snow before, so that was definitely an experience. So I guess your question, why are we doing it in November again? Is that the question?
No, it was a joke. But I know how meaningful this trip was to the students who participated last year. So I would definitely be in favor of approving it again, whatever time of year is selected to be best.
And I don't think it's snowing at November at this time of year. So
Well, you never know with our weather,
It was
you know.
Or no, it was November last year. Never mind. It was November last year. I'm sorry, I forgot. I just said that.
Are there any other comments? I echo my fellow trustees on their sentiments about Yosemite. I've been there a couple of times. It's amazing. I think it's, especially for students that their families can't take them there, I think it's an opportunity that's once in a lifetime. And so I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. That was unanimous. Really excited for them to present again after their trip. Moving on to item 8B, the bid opening for the Daniel Webster Elementary School Safety Site Work Project was held on August 1st, 2023 at 2:30 p.m. at our district office here. The administration recommends that the project be awarded to the low responsible bidder, Banna Builders Incorporated, in the amount of $3,789,984 plus a 10% contingency to cover unforeseen conditions to be controlled by the district administration. The recommended contractor has submitted a valid bid. A bid summary is attached. The project will be funded by Measure J. Are there any comments, questions on this item?
If it was 3,000, they would have been the lowest bidder.
True indeed. If not, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There is a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that was unanimous. Moving on to item 8C, the bid opening for Fernando Rivera School, similar to the one that we just approved before, and Thomas Edison Elementary School Safety Site Work Project was held on August 1st, 2:15 at the district office. The administration recommends the project be awarded to the low responsible bidder, Shredder and Brandt Manufacturing Incorporated, in the amount of $7,060,000 plus a 10% contingency to cover unforeseen conditions to be controlled by the district administration. The recommended contractor has submitted the low value bid. A bid summary is attached. It will be funded by Measure J.
So I had a question on this one. I noted that there was just one bid on this summary, and I wondered why that was and if it would be worth collecting other bids for this expensive project.
Yeah, we only had one bid on this project, and I think in terms of cost, the cost of construction is going up annually about 25 to 30% per year. We think it's a fair assessment on the price of the project. There's a lot of concrete involved. There's a lot of fencing for a lot of area around this both schools. And I think we'd like to move forward. It is the lowest bid. We could push it out and try to attain more bids. However, I think it won't really change much on, what we're going to be seeing in terms of price. Additionally, we've put this out to different trade journals. We put this out in the local newspaper within San Mateo County. It was advertised a lot of different places. So with that being said, we believe the district should move forward with this project.
And just to piggyback, it's not the lowest bid if it's the only bid, but it's a low bid in the sense that these are two schools. And the one that we just approved before this was for 3.7, whereas for two schools, this is 7.5. So it seems as if it is reasonable based on it not being one school and it being two. So I just wanted to point that out as well, that this is for two school sites and not one. So with that being said, are there any other questions or concerns? And if not, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Yep. Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That was unanimous. And this is George Washington Elementary School fencing project, bid acceptance. I actually have some information. Hold on, I'll read this through, and then we also have a speaker for this. So the bid opening for George Washington Elementary School fencing project was held on August 1st, 2023 at 2 p.m. at the district office. The administration recommends the project be awarded to the low responsible bidder, Dryco Construction Incorporated, in the amount of $365,000 plus a 10% contingency to cover unforeseen conditions to be controlled by the district administration. The recommended contractor submitted the low value bid. A bid summary is attached. The project will be funded by routine restricted maintenance funds. I would like to have Ms. Bell come up and speak on this item, and then we'll have the board also come in.
Good evening. Happy New Year, new school year. My name is Isabel. I'm the proud principal of Thomas Edison. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about fencing because at the end of the school year, when I brought it to my school site council and to the PTO, the parents were ecstatic that this was happening because of safety. And they've been asking for it for a long time. So I'm speaking on behalf of them. What we talked about in those meetings was that it gives us controlled access. We'll be able to establish control access points to school premises, ensuring that only authorized individuals such as students, staff, parents, volunteers can enter the school. It also gives us, we're able to stop people we don't want on the school or to not come on. Thomas Edison is a huge campus. We've had people come in and just walk straight into our bathrooms. We've had on the weekends people leaving, sorry about this, feces on our playground and like on the slide in the play structure. One morning I came in and like 10 minutes before the students were arriving, I found someone sleeping in our garden and I had to move them on out really quickly. So this is going to keep us safe. And I think the most important thing for all of us is safety for our students. That's why I'm here, to make sure our students are safe. And I know the parents appreciate that. I know it's not the end all of security. We have different layers. We have surveillance cameras now, which is great. We have a visitor management system as Raptor that we use in all the sites. We have emergency protocols that we go over every year with the staff, with the parents, to put protections in place. So this would be the next step, ensuring that we have this. Even seeing it would be a barrier from people that might not be having good intentions, would stop them from coming into the school site. So I hope when you're talking about this, you would take that into consideration because it's one of my biggest fears of someone coming on site and hurting my teachers, my staff, and my students. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell. I have another speaker for this item, Principal Buckley.
Hi, thank you. I just want to reiterate, sorry, I'm Lauren Buckley, principal at George Washington Elementary School. And I just want to reiterate, what Riza was saying about controlled access. And I also want to appreciate the comments about public spaces because I really do think that our schools, should play a part in our communities and in our community activities outside of school hours. But the fencing projects really do allow us to control that access and that use so that it can be safe and those unsafe things are not happening on our campus. I also wanted to add that the space, the outside space at the campuses are outdoor classrooms. And so when our PE classes are out there, we want to make sure there's not debris, glass, beer cans, things like that in the spaces that they're playing and learning, in the same way that we don't allow the public access to our classrooms outside of school hours, without a visitor pass. Those outdoor spaces are classrooms as well, and our students are doing a lot of learning out there. The fences at George Washington, in response to some incidents that happened at the school with people coming onto the campus, into the bathrooms, taking pictures in there. There has been some fencing put up inside the campus. And so if you're seeing, like, even to exit classrooms to go on to the playground, there's a fence and a gate that the kids have to go through, where the outside access to the campus, there's no gate there, right? And so this project for George Washington is actually a huge benefit, because it's allowing us to take down all of the internal fence so that the students' learning environment really is open, and that, we are welcoming families back fully to the campuses, but those controlled access points are allowing us to make sure we know who's on campus all the time, and that they're checking in the office appropriately, and that they can go visit the classrooms, and that they can be a part of that community on the campus, but that we're doing it in a safe way. And so we want to make sure we're not, responding to things that happen out of fear, but really just centering that experience of the students when they're on the campus, and allowing them to have that open experience there, and allowing us to improve our campus in other ways as well. We're looking forward to making our schools attractive places for the students to come. We want to make sure we have fencing there already, right? We have fences around our campus, but we want to make sure that it looks like a safe and secure environment, but also that it doesn't look like a prison, right? We want our kids to be learning in a safe space, and this project really does have that ornamental fencing on the front, and it gives our families that sense of security, but also, hey, our district cares about our schools and what they look like from the outside, and knowing that there's all that open space on the inside. So appreciate your time.
Thank you, Principal Buckley. Are there any other public comments on this item? If not, I will close public comment at this time, and I will open it up to the board for discussion, comments, questions.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, with my time in the district, I do recall one time where I don't know if Riza was there or if it was just me, I was called over to Thomas Edison to escort someone off of that campus. And I wasn't even, the person there. That's how.
In the middle of a school day?
In the middle of a school day. And then it happens all the time at Fernando because of that open gate. So I'm personally very happy to see all these projects on there. So I just wanted to give those sentiments out.
Yeah, thanks for coming to give your input and let us know. And you just further reiterated what I was saying. We were put in the middle of the whole conversation because, of course, we want our schools to be safe. But as soon as we did it, then people started approaching us at Trader Joe's or wherever they see us and yell at us like, why can't I just go play with my child? So anyway, thank you for giving that input. And just a fun fact that the way that we got the visitor management system was when we went to Anaheim to check out the youth cinema project and or program, and they had that system in the school there, and we were very impressed. And Superintendent Vidales was impressed as well. So that's how we got that system up here. So anyway, thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions about this?
I just want to lift again how important it is to not just feel safe, but to create an environment where our students and our staff do not feel like they're imprisoned. And I share that because being a native San Franciscan and all of my siblings going to Balboa, when they put that fence up in that beautiful, iconic school, it changed the whole vibe. and it changed the climate there. And that is what I know is a shared sentiment, that we want to ensure that, safety is our priority. That's our top priority. We are in different times. And as a mother of 6, I know it's crazy. This summer I was spending time at Westlake, and I had shared with Director Bill Heath's team that we had people jumping the fence, and it's a low fence. And, and they were figuring out every way they can access it, but it's frightening. And you guys are on the front line. And so I thank you for your courage to show up every day. But I do agree. I want the fence to be a part that beautifies the school and not just allows for our students and our staff to be safe. So thank you for your voices.
I echo my fellow board trustee sentiments. I also have a child in the district, and I'm very grateful that there is fencing at that school. And it even though sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't get in, I realize that it's better for me to call the office and have someone come and open the door for me than for me to just be able to walk right on in. I also remember before fencing was done at Ben Franklin, my oldest was at that school, and I remember the students would leave the campus all the time. And so hopefully this is also keeping our students in the classroom and not skipping class. And so I echo all of these sentiments. And with that, I would gladly like to move forward with a motion on this item.
Motion to approve the fencing project at George Washington.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That was unanimous. Item 8E, the bid opening for the Susan B. Anthony Elementary School waterproofing project was held on August 1st, 2023 at the district office at 2 p.m. The administration recommends the project be awarded to the low responsible bidder, Bana Builders Incorporated, in the amount of $497,000 plus a 10% contingency to cover unforeseen conditions to be controlled by the district administration. The recommended contractor has submitted the low value bid. A bid summary is attached. The project will be funded by routine restricted maintenance funds. Are there any questions or comments on this item? Seeing as there's not, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That was unanimous. Moving on to item 8L, update on the 2023-24 state budget adoption. Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Mr. Laro, will present an update on this.
Good evening. All right, so this is going to be a pretty short presentation. September 13th will be our unaudited actuals, where I'll go into more detail. But this is just kind of recapping where we left off from the end of school and the enacted budget for the state of California. So with the 23-24 enacted budget at the state level, it was a good budget for TK to 12 education, despite the drop in revenues. Some things I want to highlight is that the cuts that they had proposed aren't as deep on our one-time funds, but they are being used to fund our cost of living adjustment, or COLA, to fund the 8.22%. The UCLA Anderson forecast, economists are still split on what's going to happen. If somebody had a crystal ball to forecast the future, they'd be a very rich man or woman. So, but still, they're split. So, we're gonna wait and see what happens in October with the tax receipts. Hopefully, it's good news, but we don't really know until we progress further into the year. Some things to note: that there is no deficit COLA. There are no deferrals on our revenue. And there is no Prop 98 reserve withdrawal. I think in future years, if we continue to not see any increases in state revenues to continue to fund LCFF, we could see the governor decide to utilize that. But for now, they're keeping the piggy bank whole, to say. So the COLA, our cost of living adjustment, is 8.22%, which is great. There are the cost of living adjustment was put on to select categorical programs, not all categorical programs. Like I said, there was cuts of $1.4 billion to the discretionary block grants that are one-time in nature. One of them being the Learning Recovery Block Grant. We were originally supposed to get $7.4 million, but we've seen a $1 million reduction. That must be spent by 27-28, as well as the Art, Music, Instructional Materials Discretionary Block Grant. We were estimated to get $3.2 million. Now we're only getting $3 million. This is different than the Prop 28 measure that was passed in November of 2022, I believe. It's to fund arts and music. This is something that's completely different. Prop 28 is ongoing, but this Arts and Music Instructional Materials Discretionary grant is only one time. There's additional funds for expanding TK, which is a great thing as we widened the age for which students can join JESD. We're excited to learn that the Expanded Learning Opportunities Program, we're still receiving $4 million ongoing. As it stands, we've added lots of enrichment programs, after school programs, for which you guys will be seeing updates on later in the year, but that's ongoing. The special education base funding went up, and the Prop 28 Arts and Music funding got $938 million, of which we are to receive $735,000. 80% of that needs to be on personnel, so we would need to be spending that on art and music teachers. Okay. Other things, I was disheartened to find out that the California State Preschool Program did not receive a cost of living adjustment. So that puts a little bit of pressure on our program. However, I think in the out years, 25, 26, the cost of living adjustment will be added back. There are no additional allocations for pension rate relief. So whenever the stock market is down and the returns for CalPERS or CalSTRS aren't enough to fund the current obligations. In prior years, Governor Jerry Brown would allocate funds to buy down the costs that would be increased to the districts. So far, there was nothing that was passed. So any increases that happened to CalPERS, we bear the cost of that. So the next couple slides are going to be a repeat of what was shown on the June 20th meeting when we passed our budget. There was no major changes from the adopted budget, which is a good thing. We're still looking to receive $63.9 million in LCFF revenue for the 23-24 school year. Here is our multi-year projection. You can see here in 22-23 and 23-24, we have some pretty good years with surplus, but as we progress through the next few years, we start to run a deficit due to the correlation between funded average daily attendance and COLA. So if we go to the next slide, another way to look at it is here's fiscal year 2022-23 all the way to fiscal year 26-27. One column is our actual ADA, one column is our funded ADA, the cost of living adjustment, what our revenue is, and the percent revenue growth. So you can see this going from last fiscal year to this fiscal year. We're going to see a 0.98% percentage revenue growth. Although the cost of living adjustment is 8.22%, the drop in funded average daily attendance is so steep that we don't see the actual the cost of living adjustment isn't 8.22%. The effective rate is actually 0.98, right? And you see as we go through, the correlation between funded ADA and revenue growth / COLA goes down just because of the average daily attendance growth. I know this is one goal of the cabinet level, but also the district is trying to reach those pre-pandemic attendance rates. Currently, our students are in class 92% of the time. We're trying to entice and get them to be here about 96% of the time. That would drastically impact this picture, and also we know that it helps students learning as well. So that's one thing that we're going to be looking at. But I just want you guys to know the correlation between funded ADA and the revenue growth, right? So that's just where another way of looking at it. This is another way of looking at it. Through time, our funded average daily attendance goes down, and our revenues are going down as well, right? So next steps, like I said, unaudited actuals for fiscal year 22-23 will be presented September 13th. We're going to continue to monitor the revenues as we approach October. Every time I come up here and give a presentation, we always try to utilize everything that's presented to us by CDE, Governor Gavin Newsom's office, San Mateo County Office of Education, to present, all of the most relevant information that we have so we can make the most informed decisions. So, like I said, we'll continue to monitor and we'll see where we landed in 22-23, as well as looking forward on September 13th. Any questions?
I had one quick one. So when you presented to us last, I thought, again, I may have seen it wrong. I thought we only had 1 year where there was a final year that was supposed to be in red. Now it's the last two.
No, it's actually the 2 out years, 25-26 and 26-27. Because every year our costs go up due to CalPERS, CalSTRS, our health and welfare goes up. So when we negotiate those contracts with our insurance providers, right, they pass that cost along to us. We have stepping column. Our contractors, you guys had approved a few different special ed contracts as it pertains to like nursing or busing. Those contracts go up every year. So if we have rising costs, right, and if everything stays status quo, like the costs continue to rise, but we still don't see much revenue growth. So yeah,
Okay.
This is the same thing that was shown, but we're just fighting a lot of different battles.
Okay. Thank you.
Similar to a question to that. So when you mentioned the state preschool program not receiving the COLA, but if we're approving salaries and things, we're going to take on that cost, right?
Yeah. So, when we, this multi-year projection doesn't include any salary increases. This is at our current salary levels. So like, even if we were to increase, we still, through time, our funded ADA goes down, and we find ourselves at some sort of deficit. However, we do have sufficient reserves to maintain the programs that we have as it stands right now, pending any major changes to any state funding. So, like I said on the first slide, there's a lot of reliance on one-time revenues to pay for the ongoing cost of living adjustments. So, in the future, if we don't see revenue growth at the state level and the Prop 98 funded level goes down, we could see a deficited Prop 98, for which then, the governor could say, hey, we have a budget emergency and we need to pull from the Prop 98 reserve balance. There's a lot of what ifs. Like I said, right now, we're just trying to show you some information that we have. We don't have all the information yet to go into those out years, but for 23, 24, we're financially solvent and, not in any distress.
All right. Thank you.
I just had a quick question about the required reserve for economic uncertainty. I wasn't getting that 3% to work. Like what is it 3% of that we're required to hold?
3% of total expenditures. So it's 3%. That's our required amount of total expenditures for the year. So I don't know how else to explain it.
Yep. No, I just wasn't sure if it was expenses or revenues or what. Yeah.
Yeah. If we could meet after, if you want to go over how that's calculated and what reserve level we're at.
Thank you.
I appreciate Trustee Ali for asking that question, because that was what came to my mind when when he talked about the state preschools. And so as long as you guys are monitoring it and bringing it back to us, I would be concerned about going into our reserves in future years if we're dipping into it this year to allow for increases, just because I understand that our salaries and as people retire and benefits, that all we are going to continue to pay that, and that I don't want to put us in a distress, 5, 6 years down the line because we're starting to dip into our reserves. So as long as you're coming back to us and we're having those conversations before we're making any decisions on increases, both from a salary perspective or a program perspective, as long as I know that you guys are doing that, I just want to verbalize that.
Yeah, every time I come up here to talk and present to you guys, if there was major distress, you would know. You would probably know before I came to talk and present. So currently right now we're doing well. I just have to say, and I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't say that, the budget it's on shaky. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainty in the stock market, for which the state of California gets a lot of its personal income tax from. So, we're just going to wait and see what's going to happen. But luckily, through, just through the years, last few years, especially under tutelage of Ms. Kessler, we've been able to ensure that we don't have any drastic cuts that are detrimental to the community, the families, our staff. And so we're looking to, build upon our successes, but also maintain security of our families and our community and our staff. So we're doing good.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments?
I had a question. I want to thank Trustee Rashba for bringing up his question, which led to you offering to meet with him, because I know that Ms. Kessler many times, and I know even with Superintendent McCulloch, I would bother them with tons of questions, and I found it very beneficial to have those comprehensive reviews, because I know we are not able to take those deep dives during our public meetings, but I would like to request a budget study session in the near future, just because I think that it'll allow us, like you're talking about us being proactive, but I think sometimes we're not very clear on how to be proactive if we're not really identifying the gaps or really aware of what alternatives might be on the horizon. I think it's important for us to be clear on that. So that's my request. It's not urgent right now, but I do think that I know I would benefit from it. I hear your meeting. If we're there, if we're already at 2, I don't know if there might be an opportunity to schedule something in the near future.
Yeah, definitely. I think that from our cabinet meetings, as well as input from administrative council, we've been trying to figure out what are the top 5 things that collectively we think we need to improve on. Is it curb appeal? Is it furniture? Is it salaries and benefits? Is it diversifying an already diverse offering to students? Is it, we're trying to really nail down what does that look like and move forward on how do we want to allocate these funds that are going to give us the most usage, but the most benefit to our students, to our families, and to our staff. So more to come. I think that after we have unaudited actuals, we'll have a really good picture of how much money do we have in reserve, where can we allocate, try to price out what do some of these things cost, and try to build a comprehensive plan on how we want to spend some of these funds, but also, what are the pitfalls, from these different courses of action. So yeah, certainly after unaudited actuals would be a good time. More to come.
I wanted to just say really quickly, thank you, Trustee Liai Anwai, for asking for that. Superintendent McCulloch, if possible, I would like to have on the agenda for the next meeting just a discussion item for us as a board to discuss what work sessions or workshops we would like to discuss as a board. I know we have 2 newer board members, and so it may be helpful for them to get more information. I'm year 3 and I still feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose. And so I think it would be helpful for all of us to sit down and figure out where could we deep dive better, so that way we are better trustees for our district. With that, are there any additional comments and or questions? And if not, thank you, Assistant Superintendent Laro. Very helpful and beneficial.
You're welcome.
Moving on to item 9A, certificated retirements for 22-23. The administration recommends approval of the retirement request for, and I'm probably going to pronounce the name incorrectly, so bear with me, Mary Annette Vaughn. Okay, thank you. Science teacher, a TRP, effective June 10th, 2023, and requests an appropriate resolution be prepared commending her for her years of service with the district. Ms. Vaughn has been employed with the district since September 1st of 1994. Are there any comments?
Congratulations on a well-earned retirement.
I echo that sentiment. If there are no further comments, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
I say thank you and second the motion.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Congratulations, Ms. Vaughn. That was unanimous. Moving on to item 9E, a CVEST and a CLAD waiver are required for MA. I'm going to pronounce this wrong as well. Socorro. There we go. Teresa de Guzman, Ed Specialist SDC teacher, FDR for the 2023-24 school year in order to pass the CBEST exam and complete the CLAD coursework. The administration recommends approval of the request for the waivers. Are there any questions or comments? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That was unanimous. Moving on to item 9F, the administration recommends approval of the following administrative appointments. Luther M. Cuffey, Dean of TRP, effective August 1st, 2023. 1 MWOMA, Step 1. Jonathan Hopkins, Dean of Ben Franklin, effective August 1st, 2023. 1 MWMA, Step 1. And a NUMCON, SPED Coordinator, effective July 25th, 2023. 1 MWDMA, Step 2. Are there any comments or questions? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Just a quick comment. I'm happy to see that we have these types of positions as, having dean positions in our schools. And congratulations.
I'd also like to say congratulations because I see we also have at least one of them in the audience. I'm sorry, I don't know the other two. But
Both are in the
both?
audience,
Oh, cool.
yes.
Yes. Well, congratulations.
And I would like to make a motion that we approve the following administrative appointments: Luther Cuffey, Jonathan Hopkins, and Anum Khan.
I second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That was unanimous. Congratulations.
Trustee Jordan, can I just say a couple of quick things?
Absolutely.
I just wanted to say, how fortunate we are to have folks coming up through our ranks. Luther, who just came to us just a year and a half ago or so, and moving his way as a former PE teacher, Fernando Rivera. John Hopkins, a legacy candidate here. His mother, my predecessor, Mr. Family. And of course, Anum, who just came to us a little later in the summer. We're very fortunate. We still draw a lot of great candidates. And I'm really happy to have them in these new positions and happy to fill the positions they left. So I know they're here and really welcome you to these positions. Thank you for taking this on.
I'd like to add on to that comment. Luther saving our butt in the middle of that school year. Thank you.
I would also like to know what Mr. Cuffey thinks about you taking on after his mother. No, just kidding. You don't have to answer that question.
Mr. I don't know if they're able to come up and say a couple words or anything like that. That'd be great too.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys would like to come up and speak, feel free.
I promised them if they came, they could.
Well, first and foremost, good evening, and thank you very much, trustees, Superintendent McCulloch, Assistant Superintendent Scott, Assistant Superintendent Laura, as well as you, Mr. Valenti, and my fellow coworkers. It is a pleasure to be up here in this position. I really want to thank the JESD as a whole and its community members for welcoming me with open arms and open hearts, and giving me the opportunity to be my best self and show up as my authentic self. I just really am thankful, and I want to do more and be more in service of our students, in service of our families, in service of our educators, and so I'm really, really thankful. So thank you very much.
I gotta lower this way. No, I just wanted to say thank you all so much. I've been in this district for 13 years, and I can't imagine being anywhere else. This is home, and I just really want to thank you for giving me the chance to rise up. And yeah, I'm really excited to start. Well, I already started at Ben Franklin, but I'm excited to be there. So thank you. Oh, and that was us you saw at the water park. Yeah.
Thank you again and congratulations. We're going to be moving on to item 9G. An administrative waiver is required for Luther Cuffey, Dean of Academics at TR Policita Middle School for the 2023-24 school year in order for Mr. Cuffey to complete the Cal APA Cycle 3 of the Administrative Service Program. Do we have any questions? If not, I will entertain a motion.
No questions, just word of encouragement and gratitude, to see you finish this.
So moved.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. That was unanimous. Good luck. You've got this. The next item on the agenda is item 10A. The administration recommends approval of the retirement request for the following employee and requests an appropriate resolution be prepared commending for her years of service with the district. Patricia Martinez, institutional assistant, SPED, MP Brown, date of hire for 2019-98, effective 7/31/2023. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That was unanimous. Congratulations on your retirement. Right, we're going to be moving on to item. Oh, sorry.
11A.
We're coming to the end of this. Apologies. All right, we're going to move on to item 11A. The board will review and revise board policies, administrative regulations, board bylaws for March 2023, CSBA board policy updates, as well as the AR 5132 dress and grooming, BB 9220 governing board elections, and BB 9220.1 preparation and form of candidate statement as stated in the first reading. These are some things that we had talked about in the last meeting. And obviously this information was sent out in advance. Are there any questions, concerns, comments on it? And if not, I will entertain a motion.
I just had a regarding the holidays that we have listed in the policy. I noticed that Indigenous Peoples Day was not in there, but it is a state holiday. I'm just bringing that up because it wasn't there. Is that something that we can be open to discussion with down the road, or?
Yeah, this comes from CSBA recommended, so it's your policies, so you can do what you, I want to look to see at the language specifically in that section. So this is a first reading, so we can bring it back and look at it.
Thank you.
So I'll look at that again.
So with that adjustment or coming back to the board, I entertain a motion as is on the first reading, and then we can have a second reading the next board meeting. Is that okay?
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. Next item is item 11B. The board will consider updating BB 9323 meeting conduct to include provisions for district procedures, practices, or changes. Are there any comments or questions on this one? And if not, I'll entertain a motion.
Before a motion is brought up, I wanted to just point out this one was brought because of the 10:30 p.m. end time. We struck it out, but I actually would like to have you reconsider because of concerns with our staffing situations. If we're here after 11, we can't have the runners do the alarms, and that affects our runners, it affects our alarms. Then we also have staff that is behind the scenes doing the tech, and so they're paid overtime, time for this. So that would affect funding for that as well. And then their time, they're also coming back to work. We are all, as you are, coming back to work the next day. I know at 10:30, I went to bed at 9:30 last night, so this is getting close to my bedtime. So I just wanted you to reconsider that 10:30 time, because it does allow for you as a board to say, let's extend the time during the meeting. So I would like for you to reconsider. May I remove that strikeout for the next reading?
This is the first reading for this one as well. Yes, unless fellow trustees. Okay.
I'm in agreement. I think we all are.
And with that adjustment, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
As a first and a second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. And then we're moving on to item 12, persons wishing to address the board. This portion of the agenda is available for individuals to comment on or address the board on any issue that is under the board's jurisdiction and not on the agenda. The maximum time allowed for any speaker is usually 2 minutes. Do we have any public comments? Seeing as we do not, public comment is closed, and we'll be moving on to item 13, governance team members' comments, reports, and board meeting reflections. And this time I will start on my rights.
I'm just trying to get
No
the
worries.
pronunciation. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Let me gather my thoughts. My apologies. I just have a few shout outs. As I mentioned, I got to spend some time this summer at Westlake Elementary, and I want to mention that Camp Unity is the only Polynesian summer enrichment program in the state. And I take great pride that it's housed here in Daly City. While 59% were students of JESD and JESD, we had students, because of its uniqueness, literally drive in from across Northern California. And so the state superintendent had promised a visit. Didn't make the visit, but made the luau. And I want to just extend my shout out to Director Anita King for picking up the phone and bothering Assistant Superintendent Laurel while he was on vacation to make sure that we could pull things together. And who was just, the team there had said that, she was amazing. And there's someone here who I got to meet this summer who was one of our new hires, Demeter. I just want to say the level of professionalism that you brought onto campus and just your compassionate spirit was very aligned with our culture. And I share that because for me, culture is super important. It's not just the color of our skin. It is the environment that we intentionally create in the spaces that we serve in. And I believe that that's an element that we continue to cultivate here. And that's why it takes it gives me a lot of emotion and pride to say thank you. Thank you, because that's not just my voice. I had parents say that we like him, we feel his energy. And that was the same thing when Anita King came on. And that's energy, that's nonverbal energy. And that brings a level of respect for a lot of people who don't always feel that, who never receive that. And that is the families that we serve and have served since 2011 in this program. So I wanted to lift that. And I just wanted to extend my deepest gratitude again. I spent 2 weeks with some teachers. We have been intentional about building a Pacific Islander pipeline. There were some educators that visited from American Samoa and Saipan because they are interested in being employed here in California, but said we're going to get back on the plane because we can't afford to live here. So to try to get employed and give our whole check to rent or to try to buy a home was overwhelming for them. But what I found fruitful and was a gift of hope is that they are having conversations with their local districts because they were very impressed with Daly City. They actually had an opportunity to visit South City and San Francisco. And before they left on their plane, they said, we really like Daly City. And when they saw Superintendent Tony Thurman, they asked him, how can we be employed here? And so I shared with Superintendent McCulloch, you know, when we have something that we want him to come to, we need to knock on his door and make sure that he comes, because he said he would, and we need to hold him to that, and we need to celebrate a lot of the wonderful things that are happening here. And so I am so proud that since 2015, I've been able to sit in this seat and share in this work with all of you. So wishing you all the best as you put in long hours at home, in schools, to kick off a great and phenomenal school year.
You have to follow that.
Tall task. I'll be very brief in saying that I think tonight was a good discussion. It's got me excited for the beginning of a new school year. And so I simply wanted to wish everybody well and good luck next week on the first day of school, JESD, whether you are a student, parent, teacher, staff member, principal, administrative staff. Thank you for all you do, and excited to partner with you on this work. Thank you.
And I'll give a brief report. I was able to attend the Family Resource Day sponsored by the Daly City Partnership Collaborative and Our Second Home. And it was a great event. So I saw a lot of people that have been involved in the community for decades. The families were out there. They were ecstatic. And one of the booths that was really popular was, I forgot exactly what it's called, but they gave out shoes. And they, was it soles? Okay, yeah, so, and that was a beautiful event. And then I was able to go over to Policita and to the Luau and to see Camp Unity. And it was an amazing energy that was there, to see all the folks there, all the community. And I would like us to have a conversation about Camp Unity at some point. Excuse me, because it was brought up before that Camp Unity has been paying a lot of money to run the program there, and then we actually fund programs in our district. So I think it's worth us having some type of discussion about that. And I also want to echo what my colleagues have said, welcoming everyone back. And I'm glad that we're all here. It seems like we're all fired up and ready to go. So thank you.
All right. Well, first of all, congratulations to all the new employees and all the retirees. I mean, just again, we have a lot of years of experience in here, both who are currently here and leaving, which, you know, you're never really gone. We always remember you all. So thank you all for your hard work. I guess a small, I mean, we had a housing board meeting last night. You'll be hearing updates soon. Michael, you were very missed at that meeting. So the members just wanted me to pass that on. Luther, wanted to thank you for taking the big step. You know, I've known this guy. We were in our admin credential program together, so I've known him for quite a while. He saved our butt in Fernando Rivera that year, and the kids absolutely love him. Staff love him. He works well with everybody, so I see him making a really big impact on this district. So thank you for taking that big step. That's a really big one, and congratulations. Very well earned. And then looking forward to just a really great school year.
And I echo my fellow board trustees' comments. So in order to keep, I remarks concise so that we can get Superintendent McCulick out in time for her bedtime. Welcome back to the 23-24 school year. And with that, I am going to adjourn the meeting in memory of Timothy Tim Hopkins, retired warehouse worker, delivery driver, husband of Janice Hopkins, retired assistant superintendent of human resources, father of Megan Jennings, principal of Thomas R. Policita Intermediate School, and Jonathan Hopkins, dean of academics at Ben Franklin Intermediate School, and father-in-law of Christina Sanchez, vice principal of Thomas R. Policita Intermediate School. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting at 8:38 p.m.